sketching your canvas is not as hard as it sounds. It can be a little bit easier, and I've got some tips and tricks to make it easier. So you don't have to be a master of sketching in order to be able to sketch on your canvas. So I've got this picture right here as my reference image, and then imagining that this is my canvas. Your reference image has a grid over it. If not, you can use the Google Doc to make that grid over your reference image. So then you're going to create the same grid on your canvas. So what I'm going to do, this is directly in half and in half. So I'm measuring at the top and bottom what is the halfway point. So this is 3 1/4. So it's going to be 1/2 plus 1/8. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. 1/2 plus 1/8. Then I'm going to connect them with a straight edge or a ruler. And I'm doing this lightly because eventually I'm going to erase all of these. Then I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to measure. This is 3 3/4. So 1/2. And then 3/4 would be plus. It's here. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to connect these two. There we go. So I've got this grid here, so now I'm just transferring it over here. Now these are the same size, but your reference image may not be the same, but the concept is the same. So with here, I've got a couple options. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the most important lines and shapes here. So this I would identify as one of the more important lines. This line down the middle is the first thing I'm going to do because it kind of, everything else kind of situates itself with that. So right here I'm going to, I can see here that it goes a little bit over there, a little bit over here. Now you're going to go look at it proportion wise. So if I'm saying, okay, it goes about 1/4 of the way over, then I'm going to go to my box, even if it's a different size, and say it goes about 1/4 of the way over. So now I kind of have this start here, and then I'm going to go down and say, okay, well, it goes a little bit farther than that over here, and I'm marking where these lines intersect my grid. And it's about the same width as it was up here, so I can maybe measure with my pencil and see, oh yeah, that'll fit. Then I can make sure that my lines are the same by grabbing my pencil, and I'm going to actually line it up here with the edge of my plant, and the angle here should match the angle there, and it does. So that's when I know I'm kind of on the right track. And I've got that first square in there. Now I'm going to do this part, so I can tackle it one square at a time, or I could do this whole line here. Sometimes I like to tackle it one square at a time. So I'm going to go down about 1/4 of the way here and 1/4 of the way here. And I know that that's where this sort of part of the leaf intersects. And then it goes down to about the 1/3 of the way here. So I've got 1/3 of the way here. And it kind of goes down and swings out left. I'm using these really sketchy lines because they allow me to get kind of the correct angle. I could measure it now with my pencil and make sure. And it's pretty much right. So then I'll kind of finish with that same thought, going a little bit more than a quarter of the way down. Then it goes out down here. This wraps to about, a little bit more than a quarter of the way down here. That comes way down at the bottom. And this line goes up. And sometimes it helps to trace the lines that you're working on here. And then about here is where it separates and comes down. I can keep checking my angles. So I've got this angle here. It's not quite right. It needs to be a little bit steeper. That's better. It needs to go up a little bit and then over. So don't be married to the first line that you draw. You're going to be doing a lot of kind of editing and figuring out. Goes down over here. There we go. This side is fairly simple. I've only got really 1, 2, 3 lines here that I'm going to transfer over. I don't need to change, mark every change and variation because I'm going to cover a lot of that with paint. So I'm going to go up about a little over a third of the way here. I'm going to measure with my pencil and transfer that line over. And it sort of disappears right here because there's this really subtle line up here. And there we go. Now I'm going to get these little ones up here because they matter in this corner and I don't want to do anything until I get these two up. So I'm going to mark kind of where they intersect. And I'm mimicking the overall spot here. Maybe a little too steep. And as I'm kind of just working on these lines that go through one area, I'm also just kind of paying attention to how it looks in the whole and how things fit together in the whole. All right, so I'm just getting these main lines in here. And I feel pretty good about where I'm at. So I get all my kind of main details in, and then I go through and I start to just sort of refine stuff, and now I'm done. Once you're done sketching, you're going to erase your grid lines on your canvas or on your paper. The grid lines, so all of these lines are going to correspond with what you paint. The grid lines won't really be doing that. The grid lines will just go against the grain and you will be able to see them without lots and lots of layers of paint. So you just want to make sure that all those grid lines are gone. Okay, and then I'm going to go over any sort of dark areas. So any dark pencil on your canvas is going to smudge. And so I'm just lightly going over that with my pencil so that I can barely see it. And these are all sort of my main lines. So I didn't trace every single fiber of the leaf. These are just my main lines here. So I'm narrowing it down to what's the most important thing I need to draw and sketch. Now